Tequila Salai, fellow Mass Effect Nation. Now, in this video I want to start a new series where I'm going to bring you each individual bit and piece of information about the next Mass Effect game, everything from confirmed pieces of information to rumors.
You're working too hard.
Now, I'm not going to be the shadow broker with my Mass Effect information. I'm going to give you everything that I've found through my research and my looky up times.
What? But...
Now, of course, if I put all of the information I had into one video, you'd be watching a movie, and a sequel. So I'm going to break it all up into separate videos, and in each video I'm probably going to give you about 10 to 15 different pieces of Mass Effect information about the next game.
Turns out basic police work isn't so hard.
Now, this will be the first episode in this series, but I do want to maintain a certain format for each episode of this series. Now, of course, I make other Mass Effect videos as well. That's why this one I'm referring to as a specific series, because I plan to make a part 2, and a part 3, and a part 4 with more Mass Effect information times.
Right.
Now, the format I want to follow with each video in this series is with each individual piece of information, I'm going to give you the source where the information was found so you can see when it was found and determine for yourself if you believe it's true or not. And I'm going to tell you whether or not this piece of information is a confirmed piece of information that I believe will really be in the Mass Effect game, or if it's just a rumor. And if it is a rumor, I'm going to tell you if it's plausible based on the rhetoric of information behind it, or if it's just Vorcha bullcrap. Which means not true. Now, Mass Effect Nation, this next statement is an important one because I want to really emphasize how important it is that we start gaining hype for the Mass Effect franchise.
I'd never stab you in the back, Shepard. Warriors like you and me, straight to the face.
There's been a lot of focus on Dragon Age Inquisition recently, which is good because Dragon Age is amazing, but I don't want people to forget about Mass Effect. If we build a strong community of fans, a Mass Effect Nation, in which we share information with each other and show BioWare how excited we are for this game and this franchise, Mass Effect won't go anywhere. It will be around for a long time, and BioWare will be more willing to show and share information about the next game with us, because they know the fans are really craving it. And also right now there's a lot of leaks and false information floating out there. Now, of course, some of these leaks could be true, like the Andromeda Galaxy one, but there's also ones that aren't true, like Commander Shepard being in the game. That's probably not going to happen. But I'll go over that in one of these videos. Now please, like and share this video with fellow Mass Effect fans, whether on the BioWare forums, or a fan forum, or on Twitter or Facebook, anywhere. Even just throw it out your airlock. Anywhere it goes, people will find it and Mass Effect will gain some hype. Now let's get right to the information, because I think if you wait any longer, some Solarians will start dying of old age.
About to test new bioweapon. Not on us, of course. Didn't think I had to specify, but Joker got nervous.
Now, the first piece of information I want to go over is actually confirmed information, and it comes straight from a BioWare producer himself, Michael Gamble. On Twitter, he put up this tweet: "I've never seen Solarians look so damn good." Now obviously, unless he's playing some kind of remastered version of the previous trilogy, he's likely playing a build of the next Mass Effect game, which obviously has Solarians in it. These Solarians have obviously had their designs improved, which can lead us to believe that all the other races as well have had their designs improved. This just comes with the territory of upgrading your game's game engine and its graphical quality. Now, like I said, this bit of information is confirmed because it comes directly from a Mass Effect producer himself, Michael Gamble. The next two pieces of information come directly from the trailer that BioWare showed us at E3 in 2014, right after the Dragon Age Inquisition conference. Now, one of these is plausible and the other one is confirmed. Now, the first one is that Krogan are making a comeback, because here in the trailer you can see a Krogan screaming because he has no fish. Now, I say this one is plausible because just because they show us the model for the Krogan doesn't mean that Krogan will be in the game. However, I say this is really plausible because I'm sure Krogan will be in the game. Now, the next piece of information that comes from this trailer, it's also on the same fence as the Krogan one. It's more or less confirmed, but it kinda is also plausible, because they're not telling us it's in the game, they're just showing it to us. But I'm gonna say it's confirmed because I don't see how this would be Mass Effect without this piece of information being true. Now, what that information is that we will be using the galaxy map, as you can see here in the trailer, as our means of traveling around the galaxy. Now, I don't see how this game would be Mass Effect without, of course, the Galaxy map. If you remember in all the other games, in 1, 2, and 3, it was more or less the hub that we used to travel from star system to star system, planet to planet, all around the Milky Way. Now, if the leak is true, we'll be doing it in the Andromeda Galaxy. The next piece of information comes from Twitter, and it's a tweet made by Chris Wynn, who is a senior developer for Mass Effect. And he says, "Combat is looking pretty great in the latest builds. Biotics plus weapons plus powerful hardware is amazing." Now what this tells us is that obviously biotics are going to make a comeback. That was probably a given. And also tech is going to make a comeback, such as defensive technology and weaponized technology like what the engineer class had. Now this is all confirmed because it comes directly from BioWare, but I also have a theory that to me seems plausible based on this tweet. Now if you've played Dragon Age Inquisition, you would know about the cross-class combos. You could have a mage incapacitate an enemy, and a rogue could do an ability that would detonate that incapacitation and do a lot more damage. Pretty much, if an enemy had a certain debuff on them, you could detonate this debuff with another character in your party, thus putting all the characters' abilities together to get bonus damage. Now, in his tweet, he says weapons plus biotics plus hardware. Now, he could be referring to all this stuff being equipped on your main character, but more than likely, he's probably referring to cross-class combos like in Inquisition and Mass Effect games previously. And because we've seen cross-class combos in previous Mass Effect games, I'm going to leave that as a plausible. The next 3 pieces of information all come from the San Diego Comic-Con event that took place in 2014. At Comic-Con, BioWare had a panel set up specifically for the next Mass Effect game, and surprisingly enough, they gave us a little bit of new information about the game. After the main Comic-Con event, BioWare also allowed fans to line up and ask questions pertaining to the next Mass Effect game. Unfortunately, they didn't have time to answer too many questions, but one fan, Phil Hornshaw, tweeted his question and the response he got. Now he asked about playing as an alien in the game, and the response he got from BioWare was, "We haven't locked that down, can't talk about that yet." Now, this response is open to interpretation. However, in my opinion, I believe it's very plausible that in single player, we're going to be playing as a human, but the co-op mode as seen in Mass Effect 3 and Dragon Age Inquisition will make a comeback, and in that co-op mode, we'll definitely be able to play as aliens. Now, during the Mass Effect conference that BioWare gave at Comic-Con, BioWare gave a few bits of information about the future of armor in Mass Effect and a bit of new things that they're going to implement into the armor system. Now, one thing BioWare focused on was that the armor was more realistic. Now, what does that mean? Does that just mean the armor is going to have codex entries explaining how the armor works? Does that mean the armor is just going to be aesthetically and visually more realistic? Will we have to worry about monitoring our oxygen supply on a planet where we can't just breathe naturally? I'm not sure how to interpret the armor will be more realistic. It leaves a lot open to the imagination. But nonetheless, that is what BioWare wanted to focus on, that the armor will definitely be more realistic. And this goes for both male and female armor, so don't expect to be running around fighting Reapers dressed as Sailor Moon. And lastly, BioWare spoke about an Under Armor system that was supposed to add another layer of depth to how you can customize your armor. Now, I don't know how this works. Maybe there's separate sets of armor pieces that go underneath your armor. Maybe like shirts or collars or padding. Each piece of armor could have its own stats and obviously could look different, and could allow you to further customize how your squad and how your main character looks. Now, I'm going to say the bits about the armor are confirmed information because it came straight from BioWare, and I doubt they'd start implementing all these game design elements and then just suddenly take them out. Now, the next piece of information is kind of confusing, actually. Senior producer for BioWare, Jonathan Warner, put up a tweet saying that the next Mass Effect is a great place to jump into the series. No need to worry about saves. Now, he's probably trying to sell that you don't need to have played the previous trilogy to buy and play the next Mass Effect game. That would just be a good general marketing idea. But it leads me to believe that maybe your decisions in the previous games wouldn't matter. However, Michael Gamble immediately responds to that tweet and says there is no canon ending to Mass Effect 3. Player choice is something we take very seriously. Now, canon ending means that BioWare will just make a default choice for everything that happened in the trilogy and apply it to the next game. However, it seems like that's not going to happen. Now, how are they going to do that? The only way I think they could be able to do that would be to implement something similar to the Dragon Age Keep system that Dragon Age Inquisition introduced into the Dragon Age franchise. I said Dragon Age like 3 or 4 times. Now obviously, Mass Effect 3's ending kind of wrapped up a lot of things. How is BioWare going to wrap all that up? How are they going to carry that into the next game? If the leak is true and we're in the Andromeda galaxy, it will at least give them more time to figure out how they're going to do that, because we'll be running around in a different galaxy. But like I said, that's a leak and it may not even be true. However, BioWare has always been heavily centralized on player choice, so I'm gonna say it's plausible that our decisions will matter in the next Mass Effect game. Now, the last bits of information I want to go over are confirmed information because they were given to us by BioWare themselves last year, in 2014, during a Twitch livestream on N7 Day, which is November 7th. November 7th is special to the Mass Effect franchise because N7 is the highest rank of the Alliance Special Forces, which is the human military, and Commander Shepard was one of the few N7 operatives. And if you don't know who Commander Shepard is, then, well, why? Now, I have a complete overview of this podcast here, but like I said, in this series I want to go over all the complete Mass Effect information, so I'm going to talk about it here as well. Now, during this, they spoke about exploration. Exploration was their main focus of this podcast. Now, one thing BioWare did say is that exploration will be special. It'll be about finding unique and special places, with a wide range of different environments and experiences. So it won't be like the first Mass Effect game where the planets were more or less the same, and the only variants in planets were the ones that you had particular missions on. Now, I think this is great news because I did enjoy the exploration aspect of Mass Effect 1, but I did also enjoy the variation of environments and planets you would go to during your side quests in Mass Effect 2. If they could somewhat combine all this and do something similar to Dragon Age Inquisition in the next Mass Effect game, I think that would be great. Now, one thing BioWare focused on was that exploration would also have a sense of danger to it, and that combat would come naturally with the exploration. So that probably means you'll probably run across some wildlife. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be more than just bandits and pirates we're going to be fighting. I estimate we'll probably have to fight wildlife or creatures, maybe even more thresher maws. Now, this is all the information I want to cover in this video because, after all, it is getting kinda long. But don't worry, I plan to continue this series and give you real Mass Effect information, and I plan to break down rumors by going to the sources. Now, if you love Mass Effect and want to be part of a Mass Effect nation, please like this video and share it to all the fans so that we can all equally be in the know. If we stand together and let BioWare know that we love this franchise and that this franchise has such a strong following, BioWare will be more willing to share information with us and to just keep the franchise going. Thanks for watching and thanks for sharing. Let's make this Mass Effect nation able to withstand another Reaper invasion. Until then, just keep feeding those fish. Keela Salai, Mass Effect Nation.
How about we all take a step back from the weird alien impaling devices?